Hey guys, I'm IzDaisho and I'm here bringing you a game of Magic, and this is the follow-up to my latest draft, and these are the actual games that I played with the decks. So anyway, I'm going to lead off with the Centaur's Herald, kind of what I want to be doing on turn 1. I mean, this deck does have some conflicting thoughts as to what it actually wants to be doing. There's a lot of 3-drops, not too many 2s, a couple of 2s, but not really that many. And it just doesn't know if it wants to be aggressive or slower and try and get some advantage out of Evolve and Scavenge and stuff like that, and then finally playing the big drops. But anyway, he plays a Liev Skyknight, and I follow up with a Croconaur. So Liev Skyknight can sometimes just be one of the best cards in your deck, but then when your opponent plays something like Croconaur or Towering Indrik or Trestle Troll, it just really doesn't look nearly as good. And especially since I'm going to have a Rakdos Cackler here, which will evolve my Croconaur. I think that will. I mean, we definitely played that it would, and I'm not 100% sure. I think since it enters the battlefield with the +1/+1 counter on it, it'll enter as a 2/4 and then, or a 2/2, and then it'll be able to evolve. I just poked myself in the eye. That really hurt. Okay, well, anyway, I've got a Centaur's Herald out, so I have a 2/4 Croconaur, but it can really be a 3/5. Whenever I want, and I think later on in the tournament I try and trick somebody that way, and I think it almost worked, but he figured it out at the last second. But yeah, I mean, now I've got a 3/5 Croconaur, and there's really not much that a Liev Skyknight can do, so all it's going to do is really just sit there. I mean, it still is a detained creature that has 3 power, so it can trade with anything. Oh yeah, I remember also in RTR, whenever they played Eyes in the Skies or Seller of Songbirds, Liev Skyknight just didn't look nearly as good. But either way, it still is a very powerful card, and it just has potential to be ridiculous. So I'm going to play Stonefair Crocodile, and I'm pretty sure he has a Mind Static, because last turn he didn't play anything on 4, and he also thought for a little bit when I cast Rakdos Cackler, and he said something like, yeah, okay, that's fine. So I figured that he had a counterspell, and I think we were building decks next to each other, and I knew he had a Mind Static in his deck. But anyway, he's going to play a Tower Drake. And luckily for me, I have a Fatal Fumes. That Tower Drake would really get in the way, and I need to push through damage, just because that's really just how my deck wins. I guess I could stall and try and get to my red mana since I've got Ruric Thar in hand, but I only have like 3 or 4 sources in my deck, so there's a good chance that I just don't even see one. So I'm just going to attack with my creatures, bait out the block with the Tower Drake. It doesn't really matter. The fact that he just pumped all at once here means that I can just kill it with the Fatal Fumes, but it doesn't really matter since it would have died in combat even if he had done it one at a time. So, yeah, I mean, that doesn't really matter anyway. But, yeah, I mean, getting in with the Rakdos Cackler, or getting in the damage there is really good for me, because that means that I can start attacking now, and he doesn't really have any blockers. That Tower Drake would have been a really good blocker. Even though it kind of ties up all his mana every turn, I guess that's a consideration, but still, definitely, I think was the right play instead of trying to hold out the Fatal Fumes. Because Fatal Fumes is like a decent removal spell, but it only kills things with 2 toughness or less. So it really isn't incredible in that sense. And around now, I play the Centaur's Herald, and he just chump blocks with the Liev Skyknight. And I'm thinking maybe I should have actually been trying to attack with my Croconaur, get in some extra damage, and especially since he doesn't really have any sort of aggression. I mean, he did play the Tower Drake, so if he had just tried to race me, then maybe that would have worked. So I guess that's pretty much the reason why I did that. But he's just going to chump block my Centaur here and take 5, going down to 5 himself. And then I'm going to play a Sewer Shambler. And, I mean, he's in bad shape. He really needed to draw that red mana. He's a strictly 3-color deck. He's got a lot of red mana, or red spells in his deck, so not drawing that really hurt him. Although I did have, I think, 2 or 3 of my red mana spells in my hand, so if I had drawn that, that would have been better for me too. But he's going to lead off with the Cloudfin Raptor, and that is really scary, especially in a deck that is just trying to put out aggressive flyers. Cloudfin Raptor is really one of the best things they can get. I'm going to lead off with my Centaur's Herald, but again, it doesn't really do anything until turn 3. There was one draft, or one limited, where I've had a Gruul War Chant and my Centaur's Herald, and I actually got in for some damage, and it was relevant since I took him to exactly 0 on the turn that I was about to die. And anyway, he plays a Liev Skyknight here. Not very good. I'm down to 19, and luckily for me, I do have the Croconaur. So I mean, that was really just the #1 card I could have had here. I think that there are Thrashing Moss Dogs, or there's one in my deck. Maybe it didn't mean, and I think there's one in the deck. I'm not really sure, but either way, I mean, Croconura is definitely the card that I want to see the most here, especially since next turn I can start evolving it, and then it can actually block anything. But yeah, I mean, I'm tapped out, so he can just attack if he wants to, because I probably won't trade with my Croconura since I obviously have a way to evolve it since I have the Centaur's Herald on the board already. So he basically has to know that I can figure out a way to evolve it. So he's got 4 mana out now, and I think 3 or 4 cards in hand. And for the turn, he's going to cast a Cobble Brute, which will evolve his Cloudron Raptor. And I mean, it just makes you think that if he had like the perfect curve, he could have actually made his Cloudron Raptor a 5/6, and that would have been really funny. But yeah. Anyway, he's just going to play it, evolve his Cloudron Raptor. And I think it's pretty obvious for the block for me is just block the Cloudron Raptor with my Croconura since it's only a 2/3. Luckily for me, I draw a land here. I've got this Rakdos Keyrune in hand, and I also have Ruric Thar. So I have a choice to make here. I can either try and like Fatal Fume something, or block and sacrifice with my Centaur's Herald, or I could just play the Rakdos Keyrune since I have Ruric Thar in hand and hope to draw land next turn, and that way I can get Ruric Thar out as soon as possible. But I decide not to do that. He's just gonna play a Clinging Anemones, which will again evolve his Cloudron Raptor. So he's evolved it every turn except for turn 2. Very lucky, or I'm very lucky that he didn't evolve it on turn 2 as well. Otherwise, I'd be in really bad shape because, although I guess this Clinging Anemones wouldn't have evolved it if he evolved it on turn 2, though he would have sequenced it the other way. He would have played the Clinging Anemones first, and then he would have played the Cobble Brute. But yeah, anyway, I have this 4 mana up. I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do with it. If I'm gonna sacrifice the to make a Centaur or just block with my Croconura, but it's really not looking good. This game is really not looking good for me, especially since I'm about to take a ton of damage. I can't really block the Cobble Brute. I could, which I think I probably should have, just sacrificed my Centaur here, and then my Centaur's Herald here to make a Centaur and then trade with the Cobble Brute. But instead, I just make these blocks, and I think my opponent made a misplay here. He could have just Rapid Hybridization since he's got one in hand, my Croconura before blocks, but he really wanted to see if I would block. But there's really no question that I would block here because I just get to eat his Liev Sky Knight if he doesn't do anything about it. So I basically have to block, and I end up just making a 3/3 and still taking 3 damage. So I didn't kill either of his creatures, and I mean I got a 3/3 Frog Lizard out of the deal, but I mean I'm still way behind, so I guess it doesn't really matter that I didn't trade for the Cobble Brute. In fact, it was a little better, so I end up drawing the land, and that makes me think that if I had played the Rakdos Keyrune the turn before, then I could have been in better shape. But yeah, I mean I had to do something to evolve my Croconura, otherwise I would have had to just trade for the Liev Sky Knight, which wouldn't have been good. But anyway, I do, since I didn't block last turn, I get to hit in for an extra 3, which I wouldn't have been able to do, but I think I should get some sort of medal or award, because I assembled 3 different 3/3 tokens on the board at the same time. One of them's a Centaur, one of them's a Frog Lizard, and one of them is a Slime. So the Slime just jumps in front of the Cobble Brute. I'm going to take 6 going down to 7 life, and that's pretty risky when my opponent has 2 3-power flyers in hand. And as you guys can see right now, my opponent is basically just turning his cards sideways to try and read it. So I wasn't really paying attention at the time, but I probably could have been able to tell that he had a split card in hand. It's always something that you think about, like, hey, if they're turning their card sideways, then they'll be able to do this, and you'll be able to tell that they have a card in hand. But anyway, he just had to go, I cast Ruric Thar, and he had to go talk to somebody and make sure that split cards wouldn't deal him 12 damage, it would only deal him 6. But he makes a huge misplay here. Not only does he not turn my Ruric Thar into a 0/1 before combat, but he also could have done it like on his turn, and he just didn't do it before combat, meaning that I got to block. So he's going to take 6 immediately from that, going down to 8 himself. And even with the burn, he's only going to take me down to 2, where if he had just killed it before, then I would have lost. And then I'm just going to bash in for 3. Then I have a Morgue Burst in hand for the final damage. So anyway, my opponent did want me to say something because he felt really bad about that, because he doesn't usually make plays that badly. But I mean, he just thought he was so far ahead. But he did want me to say that he won the next draft, so congratulations to him. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and have a wonderful day. Bye.